Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, Season 2, Episode 5. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Joe Payne from the Las Vegas Advisor. Joe, we're at the quarter pole. The Golden Knights are 12 up and 9 down. Given the MASH unit of injuries and COVID protocols and all the other things, are you happy with 12 up and 9 down for the first quarter of the season?
Cautiously happy. Yeah, they got off to a bad start. They won their first game, lost their next 4, and they've kind of righted the ship, so to speak. But they had a horrible game against Edmonton, especially the last 2 minutes of the first period. And this is a team that, they've already lost 2 to Edmonton. They currently, I believe, sit 6 points behind Edmonton. And Edmonton has a game in hand also. So I think they only play them 2 more times. And so these games against Calgary and Edmonton, you got Calgary coming up next Sunday. These are must wins if Vegas is going to position themselves to be one of the top 2 teams in the Pacific Division. Otherwise, right now they're currently out of a playoff spot. They're in a wild card spot, but that pits them up against the number 1 seed. Excuse me. If they get there and they haven't shown the ability to beat Edmonton, even though they shut down their power play and Draisaitl and McDavid.
Wait. They had a horrible game against Edmonton?
The horrible first period.
They had a horrible 2 minutes of the first period. I thought, I don't know if that game got away from them, but I think that the game was winnable, right? Especially given the point that you made that they shut down the power play and they shut down Draisaitl and McDavid. I don't want to say that it was a game they should have won, but I would say that it was a game that they could have won. And I don't think it was a horrible game. I thought it was a bit choppy. It had, some starts and stops with really quality play, but if it wasn't
so you consider quality play giving up at least 7 odd man rushes and breakaways? You think that's something where you would say, we can live with that? It's horrible. That's not Vegas hockey.
Not live with, but they've had other bad defensive lapses. Listen, if a very average goalie punching 3 divisions above his weight doesn't stand up like Dominik Hasek in the first period, the Golden Knights could have been up 3-0.
I disagree with you that he's punching 3 grades above his. I believe he was 10-2 coming into the game against Edmonton.
Exactly, punching three weight divisions above his weight. He's not a 10-2. 2.9, 9.2 stat goalie. Just look at this year, but look at his career. I mean, he semi-stole that game. His play in the first period, you and I were sitting next to each other at the game. With 2 minutes to go in the first period, it was 14 shots apiece. And there was no doubt whatsoever that the Golden Knights had a significant advantage, a 5-belt, grade A, whatever you want to call them, scoring opportunities.
Well, you're also looking, they had probably their best power play they had all season in the first period.
Yeah, we were wondering who those guys were, actually. We kept on asking who they brought in.
When you say that Vegas played well, I disagree with you.
They played well in spots. Yes, they had absolutely the defensive lapses. There was way too many, and every one of them addressed it. But they didn't get blown out. B, they came back and they had opportunities to tie the game. I think what's even more disturbing is that weird little trend that I think it's the last 6 or 7 games, they've either been up 2 goals or down 2 goals. Did you know that? I read that somewhere. That they have, that's astonishing to me. They don't play 1-goal games until the very end.
Well, I'm still going to disagree with you. They were down 3-0, and I think they were lucky to get back into the game. That's my opinion.
Well, we'll agree to disagree, because I thought there were significant portions of the game where they outplayed Edmonton, and there were times, like you said, especially the defensive lapses, which was very odd to see. I mean, literally, it was like there was a lane down the center of the ice between the dots where it was like, Edmonton, skate here, please. We won't bother you. I mean, and it was crazy, and it wasn't the guys that you would expect to light the lamp. It was, I can't even remember who it was, but I know who it wasn't. Like you said, it wasn't Draisaitl, and it wasn't Edmonton. I think 12.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins opened the scoring.
Right. That's right. And you know what? Was he a 2-pick in the draft, maybe?
Well, there was a stretch of years that had the first pick because they were so horrible. Right. They always had the first or second draft pick.
He was one of those.
One of those.
For sure, he was one of those. But I think, you know what? At 12-9, it's all right. It could have been a lot worse. It was
here's why it's worse, Eddie. Calgary and Edmonton are playing well. Okay. Where normally the Pacific Division is kind of a soft spot in the NHL, and Vegas is feasted in this division. Now you got Calgary and Edmonton and even Anaheim.
And now there's a lot less. And now there's a lot less division games than last year too. Yes, Calgary's playing well. Yes, Edmonton was sort of the team that everyone sort of suspected they might make a run at things. But you know what? There's still 60 games left in the season. Edmonton is still spectacularly top heavy. The Golden Knights are too. Do you think that Anaheim is going to maintain this pace and for the last 60 games of the year?
I have no clue. I mean, who would you have predicted that Calgary is in the position that they're in now? If I told you at the end of September that come December 1st, Calgary and Edmonton are going to be 1-2 in the division, or actually Edmonton, Calgary, you would have looked at me like I had a third eye right here.
Okay, but there's a big difference between Anaheim and Calgary. And it's the success of the guy behind the bench in Calgary.
Yeah, Sutter. Sutter's done a great job.
And he wins, and he gets a lot out of the players, and he's a tough, demanding, coach. But I mean, Anaheim's the biggest surprise. Calgary has some talent on the team, and it's not surprising to me that under Suter that they're playing as well as they are. I don't think Anaheim has the legs to get to the finish line this way. It's still 20 games. We, in our very first podcast of this season, season 2, episode 1, we said it's too soon to panic. I think now that we have a good idea what the league looks like, 20 games in, I'm still not panicking. The Golden Knights haven't iced anywhere near a healthy lineup yet. And I think they're going to be fine. I don't think they need Jesus, I'm stuttering bad today. I don't think that they need to win the division to win the cup or even win the West. With the traditional playoff format coming back this year, there's plenty of opportunities. They can win on the road. That, I don't think that's going to be a problem for them. Would I like to see better than 12-9 in the first 21 games? Of course I would. Would I like to see less than $41.7 million, an NHL record on LTIR against the Red Wings? I would have liked to seen that as well. So
when you talk about winning on the road in the regular season is a lot different than winning on the road in the playoffs. And if they have to go to Edmonton and win at least one game up there, they got their work cut out for them because they don't do well up in Edmonton. They haven't, historically, they haven't done well winning games.
What's their record in the playoffs against Edmonton in Edmonton?
They've never played Edmonton in the playoffs.
And I guess it's different in the playoffs than the regular season.
It probably is, but they still, if you just go on past history on how the Knights have performed.
But there's no past history in the playoffs.
Okay.
Look at the Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota Wild owned the Golden Knights for the first 3 years of their existence. We would agree on that, right? 1-5-1 or 0-5-2, whatever it was. But they went up in Minnesota in the playoffs when all the chips were in the center of the table, and they won. So I'm not sold on Edmonton yet. I have a bias, obviously, because of their general manager, Kenny Holland, who destroyed the Red Wings franchise. So I'm not anointing them, not even second place in the division yet. It's a long, long way to go, and they still have suspect goaltending.
They did have, by the way, they did have the home ice advantage against Minnesota, and they needed it. They needed 7 games to beat Minnesota.
But they won in Minnesota. But let's not digress. Let's move forward. Who is your biggest surprise on the Golden Knights roster so far this season?
I think Riley Smith, to me, Riley Smith is playing, and we had this discussion in the press box. I'd say he's giving the Golden Knights second thoughts about possibly letting him walk come free agent time or trading him at the deadline. You thought, or you spoke up and said, he's increasing his trade value. I don't know.
I stand by that.
I don't know the way he's playing right now, especially on the penalty kill. I don't know if Vegas is going to be willing to part ways with Riley Smith. They may just take their chance and keep him and move another contract. And I'm going to give you a contract that they may move instead of Riley Smith.
Don't you dare say William Karlsson, because
no.
Because when I told you, you laughed at me. Go ahead.
No. I think that Shea Theodore might get moved at the trade deadline. He's an affordable contract. He's a young defenseman. He has his downside defensively. I mean, he does contribute offensively, but as of late, I think he's more expendable than Riley Smith is, even though Riley Smith is in the final months of his contract.
Okay, but what about the other side of the trade? Who do you think has the bigger comeback coming back to the Golden Knights?
Well, the Golden Knights can't take a body back.
No, I understand that. It has to be dollar for dollar. That's a given. So we're talking about draft choices.
No, Eddie, it can't even be dollar for dollar. They have to shed salary.
Okay.
If Eichel is going to play now, granted, they could do a Tampa Bay and keep Eichel on LTIR until the playoffs and don't have to circumvent the salary cap.
They can kick the can down the road.
Starting next season, when Eichel hopefully is fully healthy and ready to go to play 82 games, they can't slot him into their lineup unless they lose at least 3 contracts.
Yeah.
Now, which contracts go?
So
McNabb's in his last year.
Which kid replaces Theodore on the blue line?
Coghlan?
It has to be. He's the only one that we've seen audition, right?
Well, I mean, they do have.
Well, maybe Miramadov.
Yeah.
I probably pronounced that completely.
That's okay.
Wrong.
You did a lot better. You did a lot better than I would have done. That's for sure.
Okay. So
I don't think the Golden Knights have a problem on defense. Their problem right now is getting these players back into the lineup. One, getting healthy, and then trying to figure out how do we get under the $81.5 million to be able to finish the season without being in violation of the salary cap. There's even no violation. You just can't dress the players, which cost them the President trophies last year when they dressed one game, I think only 15 players, right?
So which Golden Knight brings back the biggest haul of draft choices should they decide to move them? William Karlsson, Jonathan Marchessault, Riley Smith, or Shea Theodore?
Well, defensemen are very hard. Good defensemen are hard to come by.
Okay.
So and if you think about it, you have 12 skaters forward and you have half that skating. So the defensemen log a lot more ice time than the forwards do. Defensemen are in the 20, 24, 25 minute per game, where forwards might only skate 18 to 20 minutes. Some fourth line guys only get 8-9 minutes per game. So a player like Theodore is valuable because he can eat a lot of minutes up on other teams. So I think Shea Theodore has more value on a trade market than Riley Smith or Jonathan Masterson.
Wow. Who's the biggest surprise disappointment so far this year?
Besides the power play or the power play?
Don't count the power play. That's picking low-hanging fruit.
My biggest disappointment this year, probably Keegan Colasar. He just doesn't seem to be able to find the back of the net. I mean, just no matter what he does, he gets. It's almost like a racehorse that's running a mile race, but he's good for 6 furlongs, and then once we get down the stretch, horses are passing him. So Keegan Colasar, but he's Ryan Reeves' replacement. So he's probably the only guy who can stand up for people on the team. So he's probably my biggest disappointment, because I thought he had better hands than Ryan Reeves. Actually, he does have better hands than Ryan Reeves, but he just doesn't have any finishing skills as of late, anyway.
For me, the biggest positive surprise is Chandler Stevenson. He's never been close to a point a game guy. He's making himself invaluable, playing with who knows what surprises on the lineup card until, basically last week when Stone came back and then Pacioretty came back. But man, oh man, if he was a true finisher, and he's really not. I mean, we can be honest about that. He's not really your stereotypical 1C. But man, oh man, he's putting up numbers and he's carrying the water for them. Also, I mean, Riley Smith is a perfect pick, and it's good to see that Marchessault awoke from whatever slumber was ailing him, and he's lighting the lamp the way that we've come to expect.
Yes, actually, I thought the goal that Riley Smith was credited to was all Jonathan Marchessault, but it appeared that
when I saw it, I thought it was Marchessault's goal.
It appeared that it hit Riley Smith before it went in, and that's why he got credit.
And I think my biggest disappointment, I think, is Matthias Janmark. I mean, it's $2 million in cap space, which when you're the Golden Knights is nothing to sneeze at. But man, oh man, I know he had COVID and I know he had the injury bug and everything like that, but they put him with good people. He doesn't play great. They move him down the lineup. He doesn't play great. He just seems to me like he's been invisible.
I'm gonna speak from personal experience here. I had COVID last year, actually right around this time, and I still do not feel like I have all my energy back. And we're talking about 12 months later. So is Janmark what they call a long hauler? He's cured. He no longer has COVID, but is he suffering from a lack of energy? Which sometimes I have days where I just feel like I have no energy. I'm considered a long hauler. COVID's gone, but I have the after effects of it by no energy and just lethargic. And these guys are world-class athletes, so they're in pretty good shape. So maybe that's a situation. But I also think that he's one of the contracts that's probably not going to be around next year. I believe this is his last year of $2 million. And I don't think they bring him back based upon.
It has to be. It has to be his last year.
Right. He's one of the 3 contracts that Vegas has to shed. But like you said, he's only $2 million. That doesn't really help them a lot. So.
What would you rather have him for $2 million or Tomas Nosek for 1.75?
Thomas Nosek every day of the week.
All day, every day, and twice
Every
on
day.
Saturdays.
Yeah,
right.
Nosek was reliable on the fourth line.
Right. I mean, he was the perfect fourth liner.
Quietly reliable. Quietly.
Yeah, and on the penalty kill, and anywhere that they slot him up and down the lineup. So
Mark had the hat trick in the playoffs, but other than that, he's been I don't want to call it non-productive, but he's lacking right now, and I'm going to attribute to after effects of COVID.
Who's the MVP through 21 games? You want me to go first?
Chandler Stevens and Riley Smith is 1-2. Either one of those two guys you can give it to.
No love for the Panda?
The Vegas Golden Knights have given up 64 goals.
And the most shots in the NHL.
Yeah. Panda's played well. He's had two stinkers.
Yep.
He's had two
stinkers.
He's had two stinkers. The one in one in LA and the one the other night. None against Edmonton. Even though I thought
one goal. I thought one goal. The one goal
the backhanded goal should never have gone in.
The second goal.
Yeah, Stone did his best.
Yep.
To force the guy onto his backhand, which is a low percentage shot.
Right.
And I wrote about this, but Panda likes to sit really deep in the net. If he comes out, or even just a tiny bit,
6 inches.
The guy's got nothing to shoot at. Panda was deep in his net, and he left that top part over his right shoulder available, and he put it right there.
He said in the post game that he
like to have a save back. I think that's the one he was talking about.
He said he needed to make one more save. We didn't follow up, which we probably should have, and asked him which one he thought. But it has to be the second goal.
Yeah, it's right.
It has to be.
Goal. Yeah.
I think for the incredible difference between how the Golden Knights have played for 4 years defensively and how the Golden Knights have played for the first 21 games this year, I think it's Panda. Dude, he's been shell-shocked. They gave up 40 shots a night for 3 games in a row, and the defense has struggled mightily at times. So I think without him, they ain't 12-9. I'm not saying he stole any wins, but I'm saying he kept them in the game a whole bunch of times when they were getting their ass handed to them, and they could have easily been blown out in a bunch of games.
I think they had 3 games where they came back from a 2-0 deficit.
Right.
And part of the reason was Panda stopped the other team from scoring that third goal, which the board talks about all the time by saying, the chase of 3 goals. And he shut down teams and allowed Vegas to get back into the game. Unfortunately, against Edmonton on Sunday, or Saturday, was it? He allowed that
third goal.
Yeah.
Yep. We brought up Pete DeBoer. You want to give me an A to E grade for Pete DeBoer's performance? He's 99 games in, I think. And if they win Wednesday night I think they're in Anaheim, he will have won 69 of his first 100 games as the coach of the Golden Knights.
69% win rate.
You may as well make a bust for him in the Hall of Fame. 69% in the NHL? Come on. To me, it's probably, I'm nobody, so I'm not jinxing anything. He's done a Jack Adams worthy performance as the coach, not knowing who the hell he's going to dress.
True.
19 out of 21 games. The fact that he's got them, and yeah, they're leaking oil on some things, but the fact that he has no idea who he's dressing, and he's got to be introduced on some of the kids who are coming up on the bus from Henderson, and the fact that they're still in it, he's doing a Jack Adams worthy job, in my opinion, behind the bench.
He is, and so you're asking me to give him a grade.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm not giving him an A, because I would probably give him an A minus. The only reason I'm giving him a B is in my opinion, his failure to do something about Steve Spott.
Well, there's only so many times we can kick that mule, but you know what? It deserves being kicked.
You don't think you can't give him an A because of the power play. He deserves an A minus at least. But because of his, in my opinion, his failure to be proactive on either relieving Steve Spott of his duties.
So his loyalty is what you're saying.
Right. Well, yeah,
it's his guy.
It's his guy. He brought his guy with him,
right.
like Gallant brought his guy to New York with him. And Gallant, by the way, he's doing a bang-up job in New York. He's got the Rangers in a playoff spot, and he's doing well. And a team that has been, and I'm a big Ranger fan. The last couple of years have just failed to make the playoffs. They got into the play-in portion 2 years ago, and that was just based upon the fact that the league had to shut down because of COVID. So I think I'm going to give DeBoer a B, and only he doesn't get the A minus only because I don't think he is grabbed the bull by the horns with doing something about the power play. It's obviously a problem. I mean, granted, they looked at the one power play chance that they had against Edmonton, they looked fantastic for 1:50, and then they almost gave up a short-handed goal, which would have been a disaster.
Yes. We looked at each other, we're like, they're not going to give up a shorty right now, right?
Oh, that would have been horrible. And Leonard had to make a good save.
A big save.
Right. So I'm giving DeBoer a B. I happen to like Peter. I think he's a great coach, but I don't like the fact that I think his loyalty to Steve Spott is
getting in the way
of the power play getting better. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, that's a point that is not, it's not something you can argue about. But the sum of the parts, everything else, in my opinion, the sum of the parts, and just, 69, his winning percentage is, if he wins Wednesday night, .690 for 100 games in the NHL. And remember, that's 100 games coming in mid-season, not knowing any of the players other than seeing them from the other side of the bench, COVID breakouts, league shutdowns, bubbles, and every other circus, intangible, potentially bad scenario. And this guy's just rowing the boat, man.
Eddie, not only 69 wins, but a couple of the losses that were hung on him were overtime losses.
Right. Yeah. So I understand the reticence and the discomfort that the fan base had when they fired Gerard Gallant a couple of years ago. I get it. He'll have a great tribute video when he gets back here on the 6th or the 8th of January. But man, oh man, you can't deny just the win-loss record. And the fact that except for these 21 games, they've tightened up significantly on the defensive end. And they're a better system team, significantly better system team than they were under Gerard Gallant. And I don't think that that's a point that's really much up for debate.
No, when you mention the fan base, there's two rocks in the shoes with the fan base. One is DeBoer coming over for Gallant, and one is Panda replacing Fleury.
And so, we get to see both of the castaways within 3 days next month. Back-to-back nights.
The Fortress is going to be interesting on January 6th and 8th. I'll give you that. It's going to be interesting. It's interesting. I'm curious how the reception is going to be. I lived through.
You think that? Wait, hold on. What are you curious about? You think they're going to boo either one of those two?
No, I think there might.
Or are they going to boo the team?
I think there might be the point I was going to make was that the New York Rangers got rid of Eddie Giacomin, who was like the goaltender in New York, and they traded him to your team, Detroit.
Right.
And ironically, the next game that the Rangers had to play
was in Detroit. Against Detroit.
It was against Detroit. And I've never, ever in my life, and I've been to thousands of games in Madison Square Garden, I never saw Madison Square Garden actually root for the opposing team. On that particular night, they were cheering for the Detroit Red Wings. And I just got this inkling that there's going to be.
Wait, hold on. We need a siren in here for a prediction alert. Are you going to make a prediction that the house is going to flip?
It's going to be. Well, I don't know if it's going to flip. It's going to be a house divided, though. I can tell you that.
It's going to be a much bigger house divided when Flower gets here.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Gallant. I'm talking about when Flower gets here. When Flower gets here, I think he's going to get cheered on any routine save he makes. He's going to get cheered. And if he makes a spectacular one, they may lose the Fortress may be the only game in the Fortress ever where the visiting team goaltender gets a standing ovation. I made you speechless.
It's certainly a possibility given the wind shifting emotions of the fan base, right? If he comes out and shuts them out and he's the first star of the game,
oh my God,
somebody's gonna throw a donut on the ice, right? Even though the donut thing is last year, but somebody will do it. Listen,
I think
I wish him the best, Flower, and I wish Gerard Gallant the best because I have a long connection with him when he played in Detroit. But my only hope is that Flower doesn't end up in Edmonton.
No, they're not going to wind up in Edmonton. He's got a no trade clause.
One more bite at the cup. One more bite at the apple for the cup. A team that needs a goalie. That's
you wouldn't have known that the other night. That's for sure.
Yeah, but again, he's punching way above. Anyway,
punching above and punching down. You like that analogy. I'm not punching down. I'm
going to try never to punch down. That's my goal. Is always be nice to the people below me and strive to be as good as or better and smarter than the people above me. That's my holistic moment for season 2, episode 5. Okay, quick question. A simple letter grade for the Golden Knights for the first quarter of the season, and that's how we're going to close it as we make our way into quarter 2.
Overall?
An overall grade for everything. Team, coaching, players, the whole 9 yards. What's the grade for the first quarter?
B-.
I agree. B minus is fair. Trending better as they get healthier, but B minus. I agree. They could have.
If you'd have asked me after 5 games, they were lucky to get a C from me.
Yeah, well, but they righted the ship. That's the right word. They righted the ship. So that's going to.
I think a lot of that has to do with DeBoer.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So that's it. Joe and I say B minus for the first quarter. 12-9. They're lurking around the playoff spot. There are some holes in the game that they certainly need to address. We'll continue to address them. Like us, follow us, subscribe to us down there in the buttons on the bottom. Joe and I sort of sit next to each other at the games now, so we may actually live tweet. Maybe we'll live tweet the Calgary game because that should be a pretty interesting game. If these two old goats can figure out how to live tweet during a game, but follow us on Twitter. That's our new thing.
Do you want to give out our Twitter handle for the show?
I would love to, except I don't remember what it is. I think it's Hockey Nights LV. because
I believe it is.
because there's only a certain number of letters that
I believe
that
it
you
is
can
Hockey
put.
Nights LV.
Right. And we're still going to do these contests as soon as we can figure out what the hell we want to do. And I believe that there might actually be a Hockey Nights in Vegas jersey coming soon to some e-store somewhere where Joe and I will be the models.
That's saying a lot.
That's it. So that's it. We're wrapping it up. Season 2, episode 5 in the books. The first quarter report brought to you by nobody. But if you know somebody that wants to be a part of the podcast, sponsor it, throw us a couple of bucks, at least have us talk about it and do commercials for it. Hey, hit us up on our Facebook pages or on our little Twitter thing that we've got going, and let us know you want to help, because God knows we can learn from lots of different people. Joe, any parting thoughts before I hit the stop button?
We got to keep on punching up.
That's it. Punch up. That's it. That's the saying for today. Punch up. Don't punch down. Thanks, folks. We'll see you again in a few days. Take care.